Hey there. So today I want to continue this series on looking at people that basically label and castigate consumers and other pros within the comic industry. This is the second video on Tess Fowler. We will continue more videos as well. There are probably 4 or 5 in total because we should be looking at the people that are trying to perform this gatekeeper function and say you are not worthy. Tess Fowler is a blogbot user. She talks about it quite a bit. Now, anyone that is blogbotted for following somebody, that is literally the issue here. People go on Twitter, they hit the follow button. Apparently, hitting the follow button is such a terrible thing that all of the people, they need to be silenced. No one wants to see them. The problem there is that we are an industry's consumer. As such, you are labeling your consumers the bad guy in something, and you're unpersoning them. We do not have to stand for that. If these people want to be gatekeepers, then we should look at them and we should point the finger back. And that's what this is doing. So again, we are returning to Tim Bird here. Tim Bird, if you did not watch the first video, just to give you a quick summary, he basically hired Tess Fowler to give him a cover and 20 illustrations. She gave him some rough sketches, no originals, and kept $1,000 that he gave her as a down payment. That was how all of this started. He doesn't like Tess Fowler. You know, people don't have to like someone. They can still be honest about what they approach. And I'm not asking you to believe everything he says within anything or believe what I say. You should look them up online, do keyword searches, and you can see what type of people you deal with there. You can look at what they talk about. Most of her keyword searches, when I hit them, you know, look between, I looked at the 28th of January all the way back to the 22nd, and I saw so many posts about white supremacists, Nazis, how men hate women in the industry, and so on. So that tells you what type of person you're dealing with. Now, one other thing before beginning, I contacted Tim Bird on Twitter to ask him whether or not he had corroborated any of this information outside of the post that he quotes in here. And he does say that I had verified from someone close to the family, but I'm not at liberty to disclose their identity, so that's why I didn't mention it in the post. The petition was removed for obvious reasons, but the story behind it is true and typical of Tess. Now, for myself, I believe him. I don't believe him because I don't like Tess Fowler. I don't like Tess Fowler. I'll say that, but that's not the reason I believe him. I feel like I can be unbiased, or I can see where I might be biased and try to check that. I believe him because of the research tone that so much of what he puts out there has. Now, granted, I don't know the man, but from what I've seen from him, he actually seems like someone that is fact-driven, and he seems like somebody that could check his anger. Now, would anger motivate this type of posting? Certainly, but he seems like someone that would do their homework and find something that's not going to be ridiculed and shot full of holes. I mean, look at his initial post on Tess Fowler. Look at the level he goes to make his case, how he throws everything out there, and then come back to this. Look at that and say whether or not you believe him. All right, now let's get back to our post here. Tess Fowler cons, mistreats, and steals from a dying man, and then offers up an apple, although she's probably going to be like, hey, here's my apple, you can't have it, fool. Give me $500. That's pretty much how this goes. Artist Tess Fowler is a bad person. I've been sitting on this post for nearly a year because I hate having Fowler in my head and couldn't bring myself to get around to it. I've posted a good bit previously about how she took money from me to do art for one of my books and then did not deliver. We covered that, and we also talked about it briefly. Instead, opting to gaslight me and claim that I was a misogynistic stalker who made her afraid to open her door. We'll cover that kind of stuff there because there's a whole post on that, a whole slew. It's very interesting. I've posted about other victims she's conned and stole money from. If you want to hear that, we'll post those too. And I've posted about the toxic relationship she created working with her collaborator on the Rat Queens, a popular comic book that is definitely worth covering. Artist Tess Fowler is a bad, terrible person. All that I've written about Fowler on this blog, I wrote in order to get the word out as well as I could so that others wouldn't fall prey to her. I've had quite a few people contact me with their own horror stories who wouldn't go public for various reasons. I've had professionals contact me and say they've heard bad things about her and thank me for sharing my story. And I've had Fowler partisans contact me and malign and even threaten me. Does that sound familiar there? Artist Tess Fowler is a bad, terrible, horrible person. I want to forget this poisonous waste of human flesh ever existed. I want to forget the damage she did to me and the damage she keeps doing to others. Unless I'm given a really good reason, I hope to never soil this blog with her name again after today. But I have to share this experience, have to add to the record, because it, even more than my dismal experience with her, even more than the other accounts of folks she's effed over, shows just how reprehensible a creature she is. Artist Tess Fowler is a bad, terrible, horrible, pathetic person and a thief. The following was originally posted on change.org as a petition. It was brought to my attention by another of Tess Fowler's victims, and I immediately copied the full text and grabbed a screen because I figured it wouldn't be long before Fowler yelled at change.org and they took it down. And indeed, a few days later, it was gone. So you can see the screen grab here. You can see how it's laid out. At the time, this had 10 supporters, and it was asking for 90 more to go. So this was a petition there, just a note. Please help, right or wrong. Stuart Chapman, a gifted high school teacher, writer, and performer, is dying of cancer. One of his last remaining bucket list items is to pass on the next generation bedtime stories he made up for his kids, to share a legacy of creativity, independence, and inspiration for the next generation of his family and children everywhere. His book is his chosen way to do that, and all that remains is to have it professionally illustrated. He's asking for your assistance to make that dream a reality. Here's the story. Tess Fowler Gutierrez, they have an email address there, and again, that was listed on this. I'm just going verbatim with it. A sometimes Los Angeles comic book artist turns out to be a world-class con artist, and her artistic license should be revoked. She offered commissioned artwork to a dying man, accepted gifts and money, made him wait for over a year. He has stage 4 colorectal cancer, and ultimately reneged on everything she promised, spurring him nastily without cause and delivering nothing but grief. Does that sound like someone you know there too? Here are the facts. You decide. My friend Stuart created bedtime stories for his little children. I reached out to Tess, who had done fine commissioned artwork for me previously. Tess and my friend hit it off. Moved by his story and his writing, she agreed to create the 32 desired pictures for free. That was in February 2014. By April, her ardor for a project cooled. Her financial needs mounted. She had shared only a few sketch works. Have we heard that before? But promised that the entire book had been inked. My friend Stuart begged her to send whatever work had been completed, since he was running out of time, and that he would have the colored elsewhere. She ignored him. In November, she again shared more details about her personal and financial difficulties, never offering to help find another artist to complete the project. She simply intimated the project would be forestalled indefinitely. Again, my friend asked for her to send her whatever work she had done. He further offered her $500, practically cleaning out his savings. After initially demurring, Tess accepted her as money. Then, again, silence. Now, January 2015, my friend implored her to send the pictures. She snapped that he was rude and pushy, we've heard that before, and that the work had not been sent because she was sick, of which he had no knowledge. He apologized. That seems to happen a lot too. Apologies issue for some kind of grievance that comes out of the blue and has no backing whatsoever. We have the victim there. February 3rd, 2015, Tess curtly emailed him that the pictures had in fact been sent. After waiting patiently for weeks, they never arrived. She stated that she packaged them USPS with no tracking data, and she had not bothered to make even a single digital copy of all her year's work on that project. Now you know exactly how that's going. That's a lie, because you see how often Fowler puts up everything, even sketches of things. She likes to throw up things in process, so you know that didn't happen. In the 2.5 months since, she has never once asked if the package arrived. She clearly never sent it. In late March, she said she would return the $500 and ask for Stewart's home address, which she apparently didn't need on February 3rd to send the artist promised. That check, needless to say, never arrived. She obviously never finished the project and kept my friend's money. As I had introduced them, I felt a responsibility to see it honorably carried through. I told Tess that I was aghast she would clear out $500 from a dying man's saving under any circumstance. Tess replied that Stewart, quote-unquote, made her take the money. She filed a harassment complaint with the LAPD. My dying friend simply wanted artwork for his children's story. Instead, he was fleeced and spurned and accused without the slightest justification. Heard that before. Please help me raise $1,000 needed to secure another artist to illustrate his book soon while he's still alive. His book is wonderful. It's about being different and not fitting in and accepting yourself for who you are. It's an important message for kids. His is a worthwhile and selfless cause. Thank you for your consideration. Donate to help Stewart's family. Remember him. Oh, that's sad, man. Artist Tess Fowler is a bad, terrible, horrible, pathetic person and a thief, and I suspect a sociopath. Stewart Chapman died on August 27, 2016. Before he did, he wrote his own obituary. Stewart Chapman, 56, died on August 27th at home. He did not pass away, cross Jordan, surrender the ghost, answer God's calling, or take eternal rest. He just died. His idea of heaven was to make his wife and children laugh. As they are not doing so now, he is not in a better place. Anyone who says otherwise or blusters everything happens for a reason risks a bop on the nose. Chapman was credited with waging a long, brave battle against colorectal cancer. What bull! For one thing, cancer is a lover, not a fighter. It spreads and feeds. When it has fed its full, it destroys its host and thereby itself. Too dumb to live. How do you fight something that's freaking stupid? And more to the matter, who says you get to choose? Chapman wasn't brave. There's no courage in losing all your pieces and then being chased around the chessboard for almost 9 years. Most of the time, Chapman stayed up late, mustering few thoughts more coherent than now what. But he didn't blanket himself with despair or engage in false hope. He talked through the terror and shared what it was like to meet his end head on with honesty and humor. Chapman is survived by everybody. If you're part of everybody, well played. You're a survivor. The best thing that ever happened to Chapman was to fall in love with Vanessa, who loved him back twice as fiercely. Their children, William, 19, and Catherine, 15, had an outstanding capacity for joy. Stewart has a brother and a sister-in-law in Los Angeles, of whom he was buttons-popping proud. His relatives, especially Uncle Dick and Aunt Sandy, were vibrant, warm people who've earned their keep on this planet. Chapman was graced with splendid friends and students, better than he deserved. Chapman was a member of SAFD, Society of American Flight Directors, and also taught high school English. How and why those facts interconnected troubled him no end. In lieu of flowers, do something delightful. Improve the world by accomplishing the most daunting item on your bucket list. Do it now. Add your light to the sum of light. Thank you. Now, to close on this is one of the worst things I've heard from somebody. I mean, taking money is one thing. Taking from other people, it's a terrible thing anyway. But taking from somebody, desperately clinging on, hoping to leave something to their namesake, that is a horrible, horrible thought. I've watched 2 family members die from cancer. I remember the desperation, every day clinging to hope and clinging for something, and at the end of it all, clinging to this idea that you've impressed yourself upon people and that you will be remembered for something good. This guy, he wanted to be remembered for something good. Tess, she took it away from him. That's not simply about stealing. That's about stealing hope. And there's nothing so valuable than hope for someone that's at the end, that is feeling hopeless, that has nothing else to cling for, and then to build money out of them and to also file a report with the police because they want what you promised them. That is a terrible thing. These are the people that are gatekeeping. These are the people telling you, hey, you are a terrible person because, hey, you have standards or you want professionalism. But you can see why they have that problem. Anyway, that's about that. We're going to pick this up and move forward. Hopefully, as we're moving forward, things are not so depressing, though. This is a terrible story. But it shows you the kind of things that we're dealing with. All right, sub if you like it, comment. Let's talk about this stuff because we really need to. All right, thank you.